Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Kayena Sangvaro Sadhu Sadhu Vachaya Sangvaro Manasa Sangvaro Sadhu Sadhu Sabbatta Sangvaroti. Dear friends of Dhamma, I really like to apologize for delaying because that is because of another program that I had to participate this evening. I got delayed, but however, so we can spend time to just to think about some important factors of Dhamma. So this is the rainy retreat that you are in, we all are in. And being in this rainy retreat, I think it's always nice for us to learn what is this rain retreats for. Many of you, I'm sure that you know, you might have thought about it. Yet, I got a suggestion, maybe for the benefit of children as well as the adults. Some of you maybe not still think about it. So therefore, for your benefit, I like to explain how these things happen. You know, I'm sure you still remember that we all learned about the history of Buddhism and the background where Buddhahamad was living. You know, during the time there was 16 states of India, and some of them are very powerful. Some of them are really very weak and smaller. There are very powerful 4 states: Magadha, Kosala, Vatsa, and Avanti. Those were the first 4 powerful kingdoms during the time of the Buddha. And however, Buddha, even though he came out from royal family, he always guided his disciples, followers. The priority was that what is the law of the country? So you have to keep that in mind. Rajanang anuvattitum. So you have to abide by the law of the country. Having that is priority, he was moving around. And by the time of Buddhism come to exist, there were, that you all have heard, 62 religions. Out of these 62, there were 6 of them very powerful. Even from those powerful other traditions, one is still existing, Jain tradition. In the Jain tradition, Jaina Mahavira and Buddhahamada's stories are very similar. So much similarities in that, but they were existing prior to the Buddhahamada's, Buddhahamada came to exist. And Buddhahamada also learned, up until that time, what they were learning was Triveda. I'm sure that you have heard it. Vedic tradition, Vedanta, what you are hearing today. They are beautiful. They are all in Sanskrit nowadays. If you recite anything, if you learn anything, that's in Pali language. Sanskrit language. So beautiful literature. However, that after Buddha became enlightened being, he was, you remember, in July full moon day, Asala full moon day, he said the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta and setting the wheel of Dhamma. That is where he started. So afterwards, in India, still there are, even in Buddhist calendar for us, there are 3 seasons, not 4 seasons. Vassana, Gimhana, and Hemanta. This Vassana retreat begins in July through November. 4 months. 3 months were ancient time. 3 months were traditionally when we do observe retreat, July full moon day, if we observe the retreat, we do the Pavarana on October full moon day. And from October full moon day to November full moon day, we talk about the ceremonies. We know that all of you know that that's the tradition that is still following. And and also you have heard, I'm sure that you still remember, Buddhahamdru did not introduce any kind of Vinaya rules up until 20 years from his enlightenment. So it's what's very free. And he did not, also you have remember, he did not teach the Buddhist. He just taught the people in the country. Whoever willing, there's, about rumors spread around. The Buddhahamdru was in the story, and many people heard about Buddha. Wow, Bhagavan Buddha is in the world. So you remember now, after his truth seeker, he went looking from Nepal. Right now, what current the country is Nepal. From there, he came down to Magadha state, which was very powerful state, and from via Kosala, and from Kosala to Magadha kingdom. And as he was there and searching as a young man, as a truth seeker, he became. And also at that day, early days, he received the invitation from the King Suddhodana, King Bimbisara, and he refused his request. And then he said, okay, when you find what you are searching for, please come and teach us. So that request came from the King Bimbisara. He became very good friend. So after Buddhahamdru teaching the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta on Asala Purnima day or full moon day, until these first 5 months became enlightened, he was there. And also we know that number went up to 60. So after the number became 60 followers, he guided them. He asked them, go monks, teach the Dhamma, which is clear in the beginning, clear in the middle, clear in the end. Adi Kalyanam, Majje Kalyanam, Pariyosana Kalyanam. Charta Bhikkhave Charikam, Bahujana Hitaya, Bahujana Sukhaya, Atta Hitaya, Deva Manussanam. For the wellness, for the well-being of many, for the happiness of many, for the comfort of many, and also even to the Devas, go and teach the Dhamma. So how much did they know? He was teaching in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. It includes very important essence of Buddhism. Buddhahamdru's teaching is there. 4 noble truths as well as 8-fold path, which is very important, good enough for anybody who is practicing, who is willing to do the spiritual enhancement. That 4 quality, 8-fold path and 4 noble truths is good enough. So they were following it from the first group. So they realized, so until they attain at least stream entry level, Buddhahamdru was there and he was teaching. So they were so pleased with that, the followers, and they realized it. Then that he guided them, asked them to go. Do not go 2 in one same path. So giving that advice, he sent off. And as they knew, you remember how Upatissa and Kolita became followers. From there we can see that. And so the youngest one in the group, Kondanna Vappabaddi Mahanama Asaji. So Asaji was the youngest one. His behavior. He practiced very carefully and very with restrained senses. And eye, ear, tongue, nose, body, he was managing well, and he was very pleasing. He was behaving nicely, and this was noticed by Upatissa, who was at that time Paribrajaka, and who was at the Sanjay Bellatiputta, one of the teachers among those powerful 6 teachers. Sanjay was one of them, and he was Upatissa was a follower of him. I think you know that story. I'm not going to take that time to talk about him. However, then he came and he was listening. He was very pleased with the behavior, the way he was walking, the way he was carrying himself, seeing this Venerable Asaji. Then how he presented himself, when he asked about who is your teacher. So then Venerable Asaji said, my teacher is the Buddha, Bhagavan Buddha, and I don't know much, but very little I know is this is what he's teaching. What was he teaching? Cause and causality. He just gave the idea, ye dhamma hetu papa tesang hetun tathagatovaha. So, if there's any dharma in this world, anything in this world, they are here because of their cause of that. Once that cause is disappeared, those things are disappearing. So this is what Buddha is teaching. So this is very something new in that particular Indian society at that day. Even though there are 62 religions, he did not heard anything in such. So therefore, this young Paribhajaka, he was very happy. He was very happy to hear this. Hearing it, he decided to see this. I should follow, I should see. Because he was, this is the maturity of their, their particular time. There are people who are really think about their lives and things, and very strong, matured mind, and something very connecting. So when they heard this, he was right away, he understood this. There is something very new, very valuable with this teacher. So I should follow this. I should go and find this. And then from this novice monk, even though he was novice, he was at that time, he was attained the entry level of the enlightenment. And therefore, getting the information from him, he, Sanjaya, Upatissa and Upatissa and Kolita, with 250 followers, they went searching for the Buddha. By this time, Buddhahamdru already was in the Magadha state, and they are by this time, he was in the Veluvana Arama. That already became the place for Buddha to live, because King Bimbisara, he invited for him to stay there. And so this is how this spreading out began. And so whenever rainy season comes, the Buddha stayed in a particular place. And also, yet what happened to the monks, this Buddha's order of monks, they used to be still traveling. They did not have aramas, stable place. So either who left their homes, they were staying in a cave or a temporary place. Of course, I believe that all of them knew the situation of the country, rain, weather patterns, and however, they were still moving around. Even though the Jain tradition by this time, they had this observation of rain retreat. As Bhagavan Buddha's disciples were did not have any kind of Vinay rules. Disciplinary code was not introduced yet. So they were keep going for, they did not have a system of, receiving food. They were depending on the food that they collected sometimes. So even in the Vasana period, while it was raining, so some certain days they went on collecting food. As this was happening, so they had to, that at that time, even though the spirituality was high, and from the literature that we read, we know technology was not that advanced like today. They did not have trucks like today. They were traveling by walking and by cars. There were businessmen. We hear the story of Sudatta, the Anatha Pindika, and he was a businessman. He was traveling from town to town, and they were collecting things, and they go back to their own state, and they were selling things. So what they had was 500 cards and the stories. So that was the system they had at that time. So therefore, I do not see that they had the highways and byways like today. All these paths they were walking path. Sometimes people make their own path, finding their own ways, and these monks also traveling on those, treading on those paths, and even during this rain retreat too, to collect their food. As this was happening, there came an uproar from the people. They didn't like it. They start blaming them. There's two reasons for that. One was that other tradition did not like that Buddha came to exist. Buddha's teaching, and so please, because people were so attracted to the Buddha's teaching. So he always cleared up certain belief system what they had. And so he gave new interpretations to them. He stopped killing, because we know that story from King Bimbisara. Brahmins were the advisors or the purohitas for the king, and they advised him to have a huge sacrifice, animal sacrifice offerings. When they were doing that, there was one situation, Buddha stopped it. When they were bringing to this, animal sacrifice yaga, as they were bringing animals, Buddha stopped it. As Buddha stopped it, the message went to the king, somebody is hindering us from, that is even when he was, still Bodhisattva. And so King Bimbisara came to know him. Then he said, at that time he was guiding him, Maharaja, how do you get blessing from killing these animals? But only from the way that I see it, if you feed these innocent beings and make them live, that could bring you a blessing, not by killing them and destroying their lives. So such teachings became very attractive to people because they were happy. Even the king was happy. And so it makes sense. So he guided them to think in right way. Righteous thinking, he was advised those people to do. So therefore, this became Buddha's name very popular in the country. So all this Naitipiso, Bhagava, Arahan, Samma, Sambuddha, so they were talking about the Bhagavan Buddha is here. So these are the, how his good qualities are. So such a person we want to see. That kind of desire arose. They were so much wanting to see the Buddha, the person who is teaching such a beautiful, very compassionate teaching. So as they heard it, so this spread by, people heard it from somebody to another person. Likewise, they were, spreading out in the country about his good name and his good followers. And because of this, what happened? The other traditions were a little bit of jealous of this. He didn't do anything wrong. He was correcting the people's views and their, understanding. So therefore, some kind of jealousy was there, and so much people were against, especially this priest hierarchy was kind of against him, and so they misled people too. So people start really looking at these young monks who were the followers of the Buddha in a very negative way, especially at this, especially this Vasan retreat. What they said was Vassavasa. So by this time, I believe they are in this Jain tradition. They already had this. They did not travel. They were, stabilized. They had aramas, so they were in, their living quarters. But yet in Buddha Sasana or the Buddhist tradition, they did not have that many. This is the first arama that he had was this Veluvana arama. And secondly, we know the Anathapindika made Jetavana arama. When he was visiting his friend, he met the Buddha, and so he had so much of, somehow his previous karmic energy may be connected with the Buddha, and he invited him to go to Savatthi, and he prepared this, Jeta Grove, and so these are the two early aramas that they had. Other than that, we don't hear anything. So monks were living either under a tree or in the caves or somewhere, wherever temporary places. Other places were that, potter's hole, the Kumbhakar Shala. Those are the places that they temporarily, stayed in the, spend their time. As this was happening, now monks were traveling even in this, during this rain to collect their food. There's no other way. No food were bringing to the temple like what is happening today. So they collected and they sustained their lives. And when this was happening, people start complaining about what happened to this Bhagavan Buddha's disciple. They are so greedy. They are walking in this during this rain and killing this insect that popping up from the ground, and also destroying this grass. I think that is coming from the Jain tradition. Why? You know that Jain practice non-violent tradition. I think you know that you remember that I believe that you learned it. They were wearing the mask those days, what we are wearing today for the protect ourselves from the COVID. Similarly, even Buddha's time, they were wearing the mask. That was, Jains believed there were microcosmic, the insects which could be moving into our mouth, and then we are killing them. And these tiny invisible insects could be going into our nostrils, and they would be, dying. So therefore, just to show how much they are protective and they are non-violent principle they adhere, and they were always wearing this mask, and also they did not walk without sweeping the floor. That is why they always have this bunch of peacock feathers. They carry it and they sweep the floor and they move forward. So that is their non-violent tradition. And so these people and their followers, they had followers at the time, and so these people start blaming Buddha's disciple. saying that these monks are so greedy, even the rain, they cannot stay in one place. Even the birds, they make a cage, they are, nest, and they are living in that. They do not move around during the rain. But Bhagavan Buddha's, disciples were shameless. They are still, hanging around, moving around, and killing all these animals, insects, and everybody, and also this, green grass. When the Buddha's disciples heard this, they went to the Buddha with this message. They did not want to disturb. They want to, get the advice from the Buddha. What should we do? As they went, Buddha said, Anujanami bhikkhave vassane vassang upagantum. On. This is where this, introduction came. This comes after 20 years of his, ministry. He said, monks, I recommend you to observe Vasana retreat. Now, for what they have to do? They have to, before rain begins, before, July full moon day, Asala full moon day, they have to decide where they're going to stay. So with that determination, with the support of devotees, so they invited, okay, Bhante, you please stay in our town. We will make, arrangement for you to stay during this Vasana retreat, and we will take care of you. That is how this, you are still following that tradition, and you, before full moon day, you gather in the temple, then you invite the monks. That is how it happened. That is how it came to exist. And this is for both of us, you and as well as the monks and you as a laity, as clergy, for both of us is beneficial. Why? Now it is time for us to, you consider it is time for us to practice this, our Dhamma practitioners. We can spend our time and practice the teachings of the Buddha. I think maybe many of you know that if you are coming from far away part of Sri Lanka, when we were children, I remember that when I was children, our uncles and some aunties were observing even this, when they observe when they invite the monks to observe Vasana retreat, they also observe either 8 precept or Ajiva Attamaka Sila, and they spend the time in the temple. Peheva Samadang, that's how they call it. That not only Sri Lanka, that happens in Myanmar as well as Cambodia, in Thailand. There are people who dedicate their time during this Vasana retreat for making merit. And also in the Myanmar, there are people, I believe they are still doing it. From the government, they get vacation for them to, if they wish, there is going to be temporary ordained and spend the time in the temple, practicing meditation and learning spirituality they want to do. And I remember I have met many people who have become monks in almost every year during this Vasana retreat, so they could get the temporary leave from their work, and they go to practice. Government allowed them to do that. So those traditions started there. That is why it is important, because we know that, as you know, now this year have come to this until August. Now it's September already. We did not know. Time is so fast. So therefore, we do not have enough time for us to improve our spiritual qualities. Some of you may be deciding, it's really nice, let us join with the this tradition. So special attention were paid for during Vasana retreat to make more engage in more meritorious actions. So I think that is how all of you are paying attention to this is Vasana, or this is Vaskale. So we have to go to the temple, we have to do this, we have to take care of monks. All these ideas are with you, coming from that ancient tradition. So we have to start thinking, what do we have to do? maybe we think that we have to more merit. I want you to understand, by making merit, developing your spiritual qualities, and if you think this is the way that we have to do things, maybe it's not 100% accurate. Why? By making merit, also we similar thing, we are developing our karmic energy. So definitely we have to, as Buddha said, we have to be in a positive side. Sabba papa sakarana. We have to stop all unskillful deeds what we do. And what he encouraged us was to do good. So therefore, of course, that is what you're thinking. We should be doing good. What are good? So we have to understand what is this criteria of doing good and bad. So defining good and bad. So Buddha, according to the Buddha's teaching, whatever beneficial to you and also beneficial to others, that is good. Whatever harmful to you as well as the others, that is bad. So that's the criteria. So sometimes maybe there are 4 kinds of people in the Buddha's teaching. There are one person is really good. He is very selfish, so he's taking care of himself. So maybe he's thinking this is good for me, therefore I do it. That is not good from Buddha's point of view. So there's another person who do not care about himself, but care about other people. So some of you really dedicate your time to take care of other people's business or support other people. So having very compassion or empathy. So but you ignore yourself, but you are caring about other people. So you may be thinking this is good. That is also not good for point of view from the Buddha's teaching. Even though one part is benefiting. What his teaching is, that benefit should be come from yourself as well as the others, both parties. So that is the good thing to do according to Buddha's teaching. So therefore, we have to be very mindful and very careful when we're selecting. Otherwise, what we do is we are creating karmas. But karma, what is having either good karma or bad karma, punya karma or papa karma, what is happening? We are extending our samsaric journey. We are making it longer. As far as you are collecting this karmic energy, what happens is that sojourn of samsara is going to be longer. What Buddha is encouraging is not make it long. He is encouraging us to find a way to shorten it. So therefore, he encouraged sabba papa sakana kusalasama sachitta pariyodapanam etam buddhana sasana. So he encouraged us to purify your mind. So this time period is for us to enhance our spirituality of our mind, not to collect unwholesomeness. So being in the positive side, so if we could pay attention to us, if there's anything, any weaknesses are arising in our mind, take care of that. That is what he was encouraging. That is what we're supposed to do. These are not easy work, hard work, but something that we're supposed to do. Because, sometimes due to lack of understanding, we may be, losing our skills. Instead of doing something very positive, we may be doing negative and extending more and more time. So therefore, remember this time of this Vasana period is for us to spend our time, you and me both, monks and the laity, for all of us to pay more attention and enhance our spirituality, practicing more skills of meditating, being able to see ourselves. If you can see your mind, definitely you can take care of it. If you can see your weakness that is popping up in your mind, you can take care of yourself. So this is what Buddhahamdruo, asked these monks who were observing precepts during the Buddha's time, being in one place, they were doing even from Buddha's time too. They were really practiced, and also lay community was practicing too. Certain stories, and I think you all know that the disciples before begin this Vassana retreat, before full moon day, they go to the temple, visit Buddha and get the karmasthana in a topic for them to meditate on, appropriate that for their their life, their character, and go to the forest or somewhere wherever they observe the precept, the Vassana retreat, and being there they gain the benefit of that. And some certain situations there are people benefited, not the monks who were practicing there at that time. Also there are differences, but they really dedicated their time. There were people who benefited. You can learn that those stories from in the sutras. And so of course there are, as they observe, now you know that when they observe this retreat before the second day of the after full moon, next day we have to observe this Vassana retreat. And now we have to be in one place, but there are always in Buddha's Vinaya rules, there are always exceptions. Everything has exceptions. Like normal, the in the ruling, in the government, you have so many adoptions, amendments, very similar to that. Buddha also had, Vinaya rules has changed, little more addition and exceptions that he introduced. As he was doing this, after observing precepts, so we are supposed to, we can leave, we can go to another place, but within 7 days we should be coming back to our place where we observe the precept retreat. But if there's a reasonable reason, there are always, with the invitation you can go. For example, suppose another bhikkhu or bhikkhuni got sick, and they send you an invitation, they should be accept the invitation and go, but they have to go with the mindfulness that they to come back to their own place within 7 days. So likewise, they gave this, Buddha gave this options for the monks to practice. There are many changes. And also, suppose now the place that you were in living and you observe the retreat, if that is a dangerous for your life, so you will, if of course intentionally, if I go and if I do not come back, if I did not leave mindfully and the place that you are living in and spend even one night, that means that you violated you create offense for you. That is not to punish, but you kind of violated the observance. So that is how it considered. And for in another way, suppose where you observe this Vassana retreat, if it's life-threatening situation is there, you can leave that place and go away. But it is not a violation. You will not, doing any offense. So therefore, Buddha very clearly in his Vinaya rules, he explained these things. So there are certain things, certain ways that we do have to learn. Very interesting though. When you look at them, his teaching is so interesting, and he gave permission to, practice these things, because always monks, when they were not clear, they went to the Buddha and asked. So prior to the Purnima day, the monks had to prepare themselves. They had to make decisions, and they have reached the place, and they have to, with the invitation, either with invitation or not, you have to observe Vassana retreat. That's what Buddha was doing up until that time, until he introduced this, precept. So he was observing certain places. And also when that was happening, also that certain times why he allow for monks to accept another extra robe was that one day the group of monks came, they soaked in the rain. They could not make because they were not traveling by car or any vehicle like that. They were walking from distance, so they couldn't come to the place before that torrential rain came down. So therefore it was difficult for them. So in that particular kind of situations, of course, when they came to visit the Buddha, in the soaked robes, so Buddha gave them an opportunity, so you can accept another robe. So things happen in that nature. So this is how this Vasana tradition began, and Katina robe offering, all these things started. So everything has a reason. Because of having that good reason, so they allow Buddha allowed them to introduce them to practice certain ways, certain things. So this is how this retreat came. Now, I recited that Gatha, Kayena Sangvaro Sadhu Sadhu Vachaya Sangvaro, Manasa Sangvaro Sadhu Sadhu Sabbata Sangvaro. Now, what was expecting? Buddha is always expecting either rain retreat or there or not. For monks have to restrain themselves. They have to improve their spiritual quality. That is why they become follower of the Buddha. If you are following the Buddha, they have to make effort to practice the Dhamma. So it is not only for the monks, but for all of you too. We all are Sravaka, Buddha Sravaka. When we hear the word Supadipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho, when we think about that, who are the Savaka? Savako, Sravaka. In Sinhala we use the Sanskrit word, of course. It became almost Sinhala. And this Buddha Sravaka. You are Sravaka too. Lay Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Upasaka, Upasika. There are 4 Sivvanak Pirisa. This is how we call it. All these are Buddha Sravaka. So Buddha Sravakas are always supposed to practice and enhance their spirituality. So therefore, we definitely, all of us living in this country, even though we do not have enough temples, but if we be mindful, if we learn now, since the technology is there, Dhamma is with you now. Every day you can listen. So if you make the decision for yourself, making your decision for yourself, and you decide, I am really so lucky that I am as a human being, and also I am a Buddhist. I was born as a Buddhist, so therefore I have 2 qualities now. I am a human being. I born as a Buddhist, so I call myself Buddhist. So therefore, it is worth now, even though I am living far away from my Buddhist land, so still Dhamma is available for us. So therefore, I really want to practice this. We are practicing not to show off to the world. We are supposed to practice to ourselves, enhance our spirituality. Let go of these weaknesses that we have. So that is your own decision. That all of our own, individual decision. So if you set your mind, if you see yourself, especially at this COVID time, we can see how fragile this life is. It's sometimes for me, I was thinking, nature is giving us the opportunity to think or reprogram ourselves. Simply think about it. You all don't have to believe. As Buddha said, we don't have to believe anything, because you have to put yourself into this practice and think about it. Look through the Dhamma and see it. So now, most of us, we really like to, practice, learn, do things. And also we have some nature in us that we like to gather people. We like to invite people. Definitely we have heard that, during the Buddha's time, there are stories that we make help let other people participate in the good action that we do. By doing so, what your initial intention is, make other people rejoice the good things that you do. Participation. So when we do that, and we do things in that manner, you are getting more parivara sampatti. In the Buddha's teaching, there are a lot of places, there are certain situations like that. And Buddha has explained, because of the good karmas that you have done, that people have done, he has reflected on this. Because of this, they had this many. Out of compassion, having very clear mind, he did make other people participate in it. But sometimes just simply look at the way that we are doing things. Sometimes we are doing it with wrong intentions. Maybe not out of compassion, you are just making other people participate in your, meritorious karma that you do. But sometimes we have wrong. We become competitors. Think about you or your family, your friends who are doing this great pinkamas sometimes at the temple. You want to do, last time she was doing, or he was doing this, Gilampasa Buddha Puja, so beautiful, so nice, so attractive. And so I want to do something similar. It's okay to do that. But do not let your mind get polluted from that kind of desires. Be simple, be mindful, be intelligent, and do things right way. Because when we think about it, certain things are going off hand in the not the right intention. We are not doing it. Just want to build up your ego becomes so big, and you want to do things to show off to the other people. We are not supposed to do that way. That is not the right intention. That is not the right being common. So therefore, we have to be very careful what comes into our mind, our intentions, see if they are right or wrong. So looking at this, so we are doing this thing comes to get rid of our, weaknesses. But instead, if we do add more weaknesses into that, so there's no use. So you are extending your cycle. You are extending your time period. So that's no benefit. So therefore, you are so lucky. We all are so lucky. We are human beings. We are Buddhists. Dhamma is existing in the world. So we have to really make being very cautious, being very mindful. This is a really good time for us to reprogram ourselves, correct ourselves, do the right things. So we have time, because it's not time for us to gather in big gatherings. So now, being at home, we can practice. You can listen to Dhamma. There are so many thousands of Dhamma talks are there. So beautiful things are there. You can learn. So we monks, we also still from other monks, other Bhantes, they are teaching. We listen to them, and that helps. So you can keep reprogramming yourself. You can put yourself, maintain the purity of your mind, not to build up that great ego that we have. So that we have to do. So we are creating this world for us, not somebody else. Remember that. We all have to remember, we ourselves create the world for us. How do we create it? By our five senses. Eye, ear, tongue, nose, body. So just I was sharing a story with the children. I was just simply sharing. There's a Makkata Sutta discourse called Makkata. I don't know if you know the meaning of this word. It's not Sinhala word, it's Pali word. Manena Makkato hoti atimanena kukkura. When we have conceit, when we have arrogance, our ego is when we are so big, because as a result of that, after death, we become a Makkata. Makad me Makkata kenne? Vadura. Vanara. Manena Makkato hoti. Because of our mana, measuring, we become, after that, become Makkata. Not always in every case, but Atimanena kukkurah. Atimana. So we can see that, greater man measurement. Mahamanya. As a result of that, it become a dog. That, there are story. Also, I think you know that Todaya Brahmin story. So he always, we have all these weaknesses we all have. Jealous, I'm better than you, comparing each other. So this is, how it become. So we start measuring other people. So as a result of that, we are carrying these things. What we have to do is we have to get rid of these things. This is what Buddha's teaching is. So in the story, what he's saying, what happened to this, this particular wanderer, and so there is hunters in the forest. They keep to trap for the monkeys. So monkey traps. There's a monkey. They are not all of them. Some of them are very wise. They just go when they, suspicious something, they ignore and go. But some foolish monkeys, what they do is they go and touch. And when he touch in, they glued into that. And then he's trying to, oh, it's all right. So let me, release my hand. So using the other one, he got stuck both hands. And then he thinks, oh, I can do it. So use the other leg. And then he got stuck, and then the other way. And also by doing so, he get stuck with these 5 places. Both hands, both legs, and his mouth got stuck, and he became a victim of the hunter. Similarly, Buddha said, monks or people, do not go beyond the range. You will become a victim of the Mara. So Mara get an opportunity or to clarify, to opportunity for us to keep in this cycle. Mara is always, hindering even the Bodhisattva. When the Bodhisattva was there, he was trying to persuade him and ask him to go back and do more punya. You can do as, as a royal, person. And when Bodhisattva was practicing just before he became Buddha. So these came and he was enticing him to practice more and more pinkama. Because Mara Devaputta knows that if he becomes Buddha, he's going to be disadvantaged. There are people who are following Dhamma, and he's, realize they will be releasing this, the cycle of, samsara. They will break it through. So Mara Devaputta done that to the many disciples of the Buddha, discouraging them. So we also, it is, for us to think. So watch your 5 senses, eye, ear, tongue, nose, body. We are creating this world for us using our senses. There's nothing wrong with the beautiful pictures around us. But the wrong thing is that you are attached into it. You are attracted, and you become a victim of it, and you hold on to it, and you glued to it. Very same way that, monkey glued into that, got caught in that, glue. Similarly, so we have to train ourselves, being mindful. So this is a dangerous thing. So we have to let go of these things. So I think there are beautiful gatha in saying, Sankappa Rupa. There's nothing, there are chitra. There's a beautiful gatha says, there are beautiful drawings, there are chitras in the world. So let them be there. But don't bring it into yourself and create within you. We always create things, the world, gluing to them and holding on to them. So we must be able to see them and let go of them. Otherwise, what happened to you? We're trying to possess it. That is the wrong thing. That is what Buddha says is wrong. We hear things, let it go, finish it, enjoy and let it go. But instead, what are you going to do? You are going to bring it to you. It's part of me, it's mine. This is what is wrong. So by five senses, this is what is happening. See it, leave it. Ditte, dittamattan. So this is what he said. So this is a skill that we have to build up. This is a skill that we have to build up within this Vassana retreat. So you have to, if we all be mindfully making this opportunity for us to beneficial, this is what we're supposed to do. Practicing and practicing and practicing, keeping in our mind, we are followers of the Buddha. So therefore, let me take care of my one weakness. Nobody else can do this. You have to take care of yourself, and I have to take care of myself. In the sense that weaknesses, we all know what weakness I have. Nobody can pinpoint you, and also your ego, maybe if somebody else, wow, you did this is not nice. So that is a very harsh, rude attack to your ego. So then you will be having an argument, but you don't like that somebody else pointing out it to you. No, that is not me. I didn't do that for this reason. If anybody show your weakness, my weakness, I should be able to accept it. But unfortunately, I do not have that skill. My ego is, and I'm trying to defend to the, no, I didn't, maybe I denying. Most of us are living in denial, and we deny that, and we do not accept the reality. So therefore, in honestly, if we do that, if somebody is showing my weakness, so I should be very gratefully, thankfully, that is my Kalyana Mitta. This Kalyana Mitta is showing me my weakness, and definitely he must be a good friend of mine for him to, show my weak points. So therefore, he is showing me, and he's really supporting me, helping me to get rid of this, bonds that I have, that weaknesses I have. So therefore, if you can really admit and work on those things humbly, you can see what your friend or showing. So you are a great person who have courage to accept those weaknesses and work on those weaknesses. We all have to remember this Vassana retreat is for that purpose. For monks as well as laity, if we do mindfully benefit, take this opportunity for you to enhance your spirituality and become a good practitioner of Dhamma, follower of the Buddha, you can be a good Buddha Sravaka. You all can be good Buddha Sravaka. So therefore, make that firm decision. And so we have still 1 more month at least. So for us to practice, let me listen to Dhamma and practice it. Not ignoring your work, what you do. Do your work, but to be mindful, maintain the mindfulness. So this is the way for all of us. We can be successful follower of the Dhamma, practitioner of Dhamma. That way, definitely you will become one good person who really benefited from the Dhamma, from this Vassana retreat. So that is my recommendation. That is what I said in the Gatha. Kayena sangvaro sadhu, sadhu vachaya sangvaro, manasa sangvaro sadhu, sadhu sabbata sangvaro. Being in restraining our senses, we can achieve those goals what we were supposed to achieve. Spirituality, enhancing our spirituality. So today we should be very grateful for this opportunity. Mr. Anand Rodrigo and Mrs. Mallika Rodrigo becoming sponsor of this Dhamma sermon especially to transfer merit, dedicate meals to her, Mrs. Mallika's beloved mother, late mother, Mrs. Iris Guruvatta. So who passed away 6 years ago. So thinking, and also all the other relatives. And I think I shared generated some important points for you to practice your spirituality. I believe that, from what I said, you can pick up and you want to, really practice. You become a good practitioner. so you all can benefit from these teachings. And also may all this good merit that you develop, spirituality that we develop, be shared with late mother Iris Guru at the mother. And if she's expecting any kind of spiritual help, and she as well as the other relatives who passed away, other relatives of all of you who passed away, may they rejoice this merit, and may they all attain ultimate peace and happiness of Nibbana. Say sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.
And also all of you, by I hope all of you would decide yourself to practice, and Dhamma, and that Dhamma may you apply in this everyday life and enhance your spirituality, especially looking at this COVID has given us an opportunity for us to reflect on, and this moment, and having this, using this great opportunity, I believe all of you would be reprogram yourself and work on the weaknesses that you have. You get the benefit of the you know Sri Sadham that we have, is available through the technology. May you all benefit from this, and may you all attain ultimate bliss of Nibbana.
Sadhu, sadhu.
May all the devas rejoice this merit, and may they all attain ultimate bliss of Nibbana, as well as may they protect the world and Sasana to be exist for a longer time. So let me do the dedication of merit. Akasattha cha bummattha devanaga mahindika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu loka sasanam. Akasattha cha bummattha devanaga mahindika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu desanam. Akasattha cha bummattha devanaga mahindika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu mang parang. හොඳයි. So පින්නතුනි හැම දිනාටම ආනන්ද හාමුදුරුවෝ, ඒ වගේම විහාරස්ථානයේ වැඩින්න සියලුම ස්වාමින් වහන්සේලා ඇතුළු දායකාරකාදී සියලු දෙනාටත් මේ සිද්ධ කරගත්තා සියලු පුණ්‍ය ධර්මයේ ආශිර්වාදයෙන් මෙලොව ජීවිතය යහපත් භාවයත්, පරලොව ජීවිතයේ සුවපත් භාවයත් ඒකාන්තෙම ඇතිවා උතුම් නිවනින් සැනසෙන්නට හැම දිනාටම මේ පුණ්‍ය ශක්තියින් හේතු වාසනා වේවා කියලා බොහොම වැඳ ගන්න. එහෙනම් අභිවාදන සීලිස්ස නිච්ඡං වද්දාපචායිනෝ චත්තාරෝ ධම්මා වඩ්ඩಂತಿ ආයුවන්නෝ සුඛං බලං ආයුරාෝග්‍ය සම්පatti සග්ග සම්පatti මේවච අතෝ නිබ්බාන සම්පatti මිනාතේ සමිජ්ජතු.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
හොඳයි. එහෙනම් තෙරුවන් සරණයි කාටත්.
Sadhu, sadhu. Sadhu, sadhu.
හොඳයි. එහෙනම් හොඳයි තෙරුවන් සරණයි.
Sadhu, sadhu.